I'm going to catch up with you all later on in the week. I'm going to opt out now, but I'm going to leave you with Joe. I'm going to introduce you to Joe. Joe is actually worked in the real estate industry. I've been in the real estate industry for 34, 35, 36, 37. Don't add those years up on top of my age. But Joe's also been working in the real estate industry now for about 20 years. So she's got a lot of experience. So I wanted to introduce Joe to you, and she's going to take you through a lot of the Aussie slang that we use for real estate, which if you're going to work with an Australian client is really important that you've got an understanding of that. I know one of the big things that you guys do, and it's something that I'm not good at, is you use abbreviations for everything. So she's going to take you through the abbreviations that we would use if it was an Australian abbreviation, so that you can get an understanding of that. She's also going to help you with a little bit of an understanding about if you were placed with an Australian client, what would be their expectation? Because a sales agent, a successful sales agent, has a really high expectation of themselves and how they perform and how fast they work and what they do. And so that's something that's really important that we pass that knowledge on to you, because it's not typical administration work, or there is a bit, obviously, if you go on to do the sales prospecting and the data mining, there is a lot of that normal data processing stuff, but actually working one-on-one with an agent, which some of you will do if that's the course, you know, the road you go down, and you get to work with them and you're working with them as sort of an assistant, because ideally that's what we want to train you. Even those that are going on to do data mining or prospecting, you still want to be an assistant as well. And it's really important that you learn what it's like to work with a successful agent in Australia, and just what their expectations might be, or, you know, little idiosyncrasies about what we're like. So I'm going to hand you over to Joe. I'm going to go off and do some more work, but I'm going to catch up with you all later on in the week to see how it's all going and get your feedback, because really your feedback's important. So you've been all joined to the WhatsApp group. So it's really important for me if you can drop some feedback in there, because anything we can do to make this program better for you is going to mean that you're going to come out, you know, much more skilled. Sorry, that wasn't even complete English, a better skilled personal assistant and really good at the job and ready to go in and work with an Australian client. So please, guys, your feedback's important. You will see me jump in and say good morning every morning. I love to say good morning because I think that starts the day right for everybody. And it just acknowledges that we're all there and we're all excited about what we're doing. So yeah, please jump in and say good morning to me every morning as well, because I love just to see you say good morning. I don't like just the hand wave. That'd be awesome. But guys, happy Monday. Hand you over to Jo now. She's just going to plug her earset in and have an awesome Monday, guys.
All right, and by the way, guys, can you please all turn on your camera so that everyone can see you?
Oh, there's my PowerPoint. Oh, I've just got.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Hi, Joe. Good morning.
Morning.
Can you all hear
Morning,
me?
Joe.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes, we can hear you loud and
Awesome.
clear.
Thank you. You'll have to excuse me. I have been thrown into it today. It is my first time doing something as this, so let's go begin this experience together. As Paula did mention, I have been in the real estate industry for quite some time and did actually start out myself in sales administration, and it's something that I thoroughly enjoyed my time doing. Unfortunately, I got yelled at face to face when I didn't do something quite right, so it'll be a little bit different for you guys there. So yes, obviously the purpose of today's one is to go through in terms of Australian terminology that we use that you'll become completely accustomed to using. I do believe we are just still waiting on the PowerPoints to come through. My apologies. So if you can bear with me and happy to listen to me, we can go through. So as Paula said, I started out 20 years ago in real estate, being a sales administrator and front office reception administrator as well. Very green, but absolutely loved it. The behind the scenes, there's just as much kick and enjoyment out of doing things behind the scenes and being that person responsible for that, as opposed to being the one out and going and giving the handshake and getting the deal done. You're the engine room that keeps them going and lets them do what they need to be able to do best, which is convert those prospects into listings and meeting those clients at open homes and converting those into contracts for sales. So you're doing the amazing and incredible job that you'll be looking to do in the background there is what will definitely keep them going and doing what they do best. So we do have a lot of different terminologies in the industry that we do use. A lot of it comes down to then the abbreviations you'll become accustomed to using, which who we use as well is still definitely teaching us some of the abbreviations they use and that have been derived there. So obviously the first one and most biggest one is the residential property. So you have with that obviously your rental property or the sale property. So you've got there with it your residential rental property, which refers to homes that are purchased by an investor and inhabited by tenants on a lease or other type of rental agreement. Likewise then with a sale property is the property that is currently listed for sale. You have your owner or landlord in the rental terminology side of things as well. So a landlord is the person who owns the property, whether it's a house, an apartment, a unit, a townhouse, and that is where it is then leased or rented to other parties, which are referred to as your tenants. With the owner of a sales property, they're most commonly referred to as a vendor. So that is the current owner of the property whom you have listed for sale with. When it comes down through to doing your contracts and preparing those types of documents, they are most commonly referred to as being the vendor of the property. And then you have the purchaser as well. So you have the buyer of the property, who commonly is then referred to as the purchaser on the contract of sale once that goes through. Another one important to know as well is with a lot of properties, they are sold being tenanted. So either then becoming a short-term investment property or to then be a permanent investment property. So tenants is, abbreviation for that is TT, that you'll see start to be commonly used. And that is one who has the occupation of the temporary possession of the property and is being then the one who rents or leases the dwelling. From the landlords. There is through that as well, then you might then have your agent, once you come through to being with them, put through a request to arrange a tradesperson, aka Aussie slang for that we use is a tradie. With that being said, that could be to arrange something, as they are a skilled worker that specialises in a particular field of work, to something that needs to be arranged, whether or not it comes through from the building and pest inspection when a property goes under contract, or something in the pre-stages of listing the property for sale as well. And another one you'll come across as well is the body corporate. So particularly for units or even sometimes duplexes, on the contract of sale, there is a section there, or on any of the listing docs you prepare, is for the body corporate information. That is, there's a legal entity which is created that, say, if you have 10 units in the complex, they oversee the common areas of that property, and all the owners are members of the body corporate when they do buy their lot automatically. And there are what is called body corporate fees that do get paid through. Unfortunately, it is an expense there. And they will oversee the common areas of the lot, take care and responsibility for those common areas. So the owner then just has to focus on their individual units. You'll have there, so you will eventually go through and start seeing documentation such as the Form 6 listing appointments, which obviously down the track you'll have the expectation would be that the sales agent you're working with, you'll be the one completing those, generally speaking, in the background. Utilizing programs such as RealWorks, DocuSign for electronic signing and such, to, as I said in the beginning, keep that process going for then the sales agent to do what they do best. So a Form 6 listing agreement, it is very simplistic in what it goes through. You'll have a pro forma sent through from your sales agent or sales team, generally speaking, with what is standard, but very simplistic in what it asks for in terms of then the client information, the property information, what it will be listed for, any fees or charges for the sale of the property, and then sending off all those signatures with the standard terms and conditions in it. Does anyone have any questions so far? I know it's a lot to take in. I guess, continuing on then with that, you've got when a property is put under contract, it is then the contract that is completed. And again, this might be a task that is designated for you to do by your sales agent. And again, it's completing the information. You'll have sections on there for the seller of the property, as we spoke about, being the vendor, the buyer of the property, who is their purchaser. If we have any details of their appointed conveyancers or solicitors, to assist in the expedition of the contract. And then you'll come down to terminology such as the valuation or finance dates on a property, or then also the building and pest inspection. So they generally have specific timeframes around them. We typically see either 7, 14 or 21 days. A lot of the contracts are done using days as reference. So you might have, with a contract of sale, 7 days for the building and pest inspection, and 14 days for the finance approval on there. With the building and pest inspection, that will then entail the purchaser obtaining a suitably qualified person to attend the property and go through and do any necessary checks, just to make sure they're not going to move in and it completely falls down around them and they're left sitting in an armchair alone with no walls. Or the finance side of it, they have a valuation which is undertaken. So it is referred through to their bank if they are getting finance. There's some that are lucky enough to be able to purchase homes as a cash contract. You don't see that as often at the moment with how the market is, especially. But the finance section is very, very common, whereby you will, as I said, they will have a referred through to their bank who arranges a valuation to be done on the property to make sure it lines up between the contract price and what the property is actually worth, that they do see that mirror there to be able to then finance the loan for them and to make sure there is the capacity there to pay. So they'll come out and do the prediction value of the asset, so where be it the property that's being purchased at that particular point in time, and that it'll then suitably qualify for what it is actually being needed for. The bank then receives a copy of that valuation report, or the lender whom they are going to be going through. The lender is, a broker who'll be providing that finance and sourcing that finance for them to buy the property. So they will get the valuation report through, do their own due diligence and assessment, just to make sure that it is all weighing up and everything does match. I mean, you wouldn't want to be going and buying a property for $1 million that says, and the bank says it's only worth $400,000. That doesn't add up. So they do it as a sureguard and safeguard for you. And so the valuer in that case is they do need to be registered and licensed to undertake the work, and they will be a member generally of an Australian Property Institute, and they are certified as a registered practicing valuer. So they will come out and do what is required to ensure those checks are all completely done. Once those two items, which are the most common on a contract of sale, are done, it then moves through, and if they are satisfied and everyone is happy, you then move through what is to be called generally being unconditional on the property. So once the property goes unconditional, that means any of those terms are met and you are just waiting on the settlement date. So that is obviously then the final stage of the sale, where the purchaser completes the payments and final payment through to the bank, and all of that is facilitated through. And then they take legal possession of the property, so it becomes theirs. So, and that in line works with being the settlement date, which is on the contract of sale, all finalised and done and dusted, and the balance of money being paid, which the solicitors then take care of as well with that. Another common terminology that we have, and you'll see in here, is once you begin the process, is obviously council rates and water rates. We have, obviously, in Brisbane especially, you have the Brisbane City Council, so there will be rates that will come through from those, or that might be requested to be obtained during the sale process. Likewise with water, the main one in line with Brisbane City Council is urban utilities. They may also be requested from time to time also during a contract of sale process for those figures to be worked out, or if it is a investment property as well, for copies of those to be obtained. There are, though, in the region, many councils, many different types of water boards, I guess you would say, where that information can then come from as well. You may get references through to there's just so many that I could have all you guys all day with talking about it. You've got then general real estate terminology, which is always good to know. That's not just the sales specific as well, or that you'll come across when preparing contracts of sale or listing documents. Pending the sector that you go into, what you're doing as well. Trust accounts. We use and operate, which we have to, a trust account, which is a legislative required bank account where the monies are held by an agent on or behalf of another person. So we obviously use that daily for rent in our rental department as well, but that is also used in the sales department. So you will see that there is a initial deposit to be paid, which is paid then into the sales trust account. In addition to, generally, you'll see a lot of the time on the contract of sale a balance of deposit due dates as well, which again is paid into that trust account, and that's where those are held until settlement goes through and forms part of the disbursement process. Vacant possession is another one you might see come through on a contract of sale. If you do currently have a property that your sales agent is selling tenanted, they may request for vacant possession on the contract. So that just will, that refers to then obviously a right of possession upon settlement of the property to the purchaser. So it means it does need to be completely vacant for them, and that does form part of then the contract of sale also. You will see also requests that may come through for depreciation schedules when you are doing the sales administration or working with your sales agent. Those requests might come through for a depreciation schedule as well, which is predominantly only if it is an investment property. It's a list of items that can be depreciated over a time frame and claimed as a tax benefit. So even things like carpet, hot water systems, and air conditioning are items that can be included on a depreciation schedule. You'll see then those also noted on a contract of sale as inclusions or included chattels on a contract of sale. So if your sales agent, that is something that is super important. If you don't have that information in front of you and you are doing a contract of sale for them, is confirming what is an inclusion in the property or what is then an exclusion from the property. So you could, the sales agent could let you know that or you might know from preparing the listing documentation that there is 3 air conditioners in the property, but come the time of contract, it's a confirming then that those 3 air conditioners are remaining as an inclusion of the property, and making sure then that they are noted on the contract of sale, so the seller just doesn't go and leave you with a hole in the wall when they move out and the new purchaser moves in. Disbursements, obviously, once the contract is finalised, all of the disbursements will take place behind the scenes, and then just what the administration team needs to do in terms of those deposits that were held in the sales trust accounts as well. Including expenses that were paid by the agent or anything that is owed then to the agency or the agent for items completed. You'll see, you might see or be asked to facilitate requests to arrange photography, as we spoke about, obviously, any maintenance with tradespeople on the property as well, or to liaise and communicate with things such as the building and pest inspection or valuation, to have those booked in as well, which they all like to be done in a timely manner to ensure everything moves along. An appraisal, you might get a request through as well for an appraisal to be completed on the property. So your selling agent or your agent might just refer through to you and ask you to complete this appraisal, which you would then have, again, another pro forma for and to complete up on their behalf and send back to them. So the appraisal is the term commonly used to indicate what is the achievable price per se, whether it be for the rental price or for the sales price. That's generally something that happens in the listing process when they are going to go and meet the clients on site, is to have that appraisal completed, or very quickly after they return back from having a look at the property and conducting their own visual inspection, you might get a message and say, hey, in 5 minutes, I need this completed and sent through to me, please, to then pass on to their clients and try and win that business. So it is pretty much that agent's opinion on what they would be able to achieve for that home if it was to be listed on the market for sale. So it is a super important document for them when presenting to the clients as well, to assist in showing that this is what it's worth. You then might be asked to then follow the appraisal up with a comparative market analysis, also known as a CMA, which I believe you will learn coming through when you start doing the database side of things, how to complete or what is expected in one of those. And that is just what is in the area at the moment that has sold or currently listed for sale, to back up that opinion on what the property would actually be worth in the sales agent's eyes. You might be asked by your sales agent to issue particular forms, especially if they are going to then be selling a tenanted property. So you will be using what they call the approved forms. For us here in Queensland, it is under the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act, the RTRA Act. They have approved forms that can be used for notice to tenants if you are selling a tenanted property. They would come in the lines of a Form 9, which is an entry notice, a Form 10, which is the notice of lessor's intention to sell the premises. Form 12, you may be asked to complete as well. Generally, especially if you have a combined sales and property management office working together, sometimes through that agent that might be selling that tenanted property, you might be asked to just undertake that form if it is through then the same office as well, just for simplicity and to help everyone out. But they are the 3 most common ones. Form 9 entry notice, which you use for any time the agent would be going to the property, if a building and pest inspection was to be done, if the valuation for finance was to be done, and to show anyone through the property as well. And then the Form 10 is a must at the start of the sales process of a tenanted property to then be issued to the tenant as well. You'll then find other forms such as an open home consent form, which your sales agent should be getting you to complete if they are selling a tenanted property. And that's just to get that occupant's permission to be able to do those things, to be able to have open homes at the home and advertise as they are going to be advertising as well. You might be asked to get a copy of the GTA, which is the General Tenancy Agreement, if selling a rental property as well, which is also, the GTA or Form 18A, which is the General Tenancy Agreement. And that is the contracts between what would be then the seller or current owner of the property and the tenant, to show that tenancy information in place as well. And you may also be asked to obtain or seek a copy of any compliance certificates. So whether or not that be smoke alarm compliance or water compliance certificates, or even a pool compliance. So the smoke alarms and pools are 2 of the bigger items as well when doing a contract of sale that they have listed and do need to meet certain requirements. So you can might also be asked to obtain copies of those from other agents, from agents within the team, or if required. And moving forward from that, does anyone have any questions at this point in time? Yep. Did you want to ask something?
Yeah, hi Joe. I would just
Hi.
like to clarify if the valuation and what's this one, the appraisal are the same?
No. So an appraisal is only the sales agent's opinion on what they believe they could achieve for the property. A
Mm.
valuation is done by a certified and practicing valuer, which determines the exact value of the property. So the appraisal your sales agent would use when trying to win the business or gain the business of selling the property with what their professional opinion is. But the valuation is done at the time of contract, and that is when the bank and the valuer determine what the property's worth actually is to make sure it matches up with the contract of sale.
I see. Thank you so much, Joe, for clarifying
Not a
it.
problem. Not a problem at all. I guess moving on then, the expectations of a sales agent. They do differ greatly. It can come down to the agency you're working for, the agent you're working for, and the location of where you are going to be working with. So we obviously have a huge city in terms of Brisbane City here ourselves, where you've got the inner city suburbs and you move out north, east, south, and west. So we're up in the northern suburbs of Brisbane, or we're just outside Brisbane City in Moreton Bay, where we are based here at Strathpine. So you do have large demographics and, obviously certain areas that are more popular or worth a lot more money than other areas within the region as well. So, you've got your inner city suburbs and your inner city agents where they are probably daily dealing with multi-million-dollar properties, whereby, for us out here and our agents out in the northern suburbs here, definitely not that much, but still a decent amount. So it would just be learning then as well, your agent who you do go and work for. You might even want to look to do some research on the area that you're going to be working in yourself, or ask the agent for a bit of a background information on it to sort of get that idea. I mean, if you were with us out here, it is still definitely fast-paced and demanding, but I could only imagine it wouldn't be much as much as if you were based with an inner city agent, where, as I said, they're dealing with multi-million-dollar properties day in, day out. The biggest expectation, and again, having come from me who has been in the situation, is the creating that trust with your sales agent, that if they need something when you are there, you're on it and you can complete it in that timely manner as needed. You'll obviously receive a rundown of what their expectations are, what they would like you to do, and what the role would entail when you do get placed and commence work with them, or I hope you would. And that'll obviously allow you the opportunity to go through and have a look and see if there's anything then you need to refer back to or get clarification on. But I guess the biggest expectations would be that you would have the ability to, create and complete the forms necessary, and obviously doing those efficiently and correctly as needed. They would, as I said, for me, completely different. I was doing it in the days of being face-to-face, being in the same office with them, being yelled at them to my face if I did do something a little bit incorrect. But I worked with a lot of very, very old school agents as well, where I was still doing carbon copy trust account receipts and things like that, where everyone got a copy. So had to tear off the piece of paper about 3 or 4 in a row for everyone to have in each individual receipt. But again, the expectations are that you are just able to do what they ask effectively and efficiently, and as required, and having those pro formas there to do it and complete it as well. Whether or not, as Paula mentioned earlier, if you move into data mining or prospecting, that comes with a whole different set of expectations as well. That may even come down to being into, they may ask you to be calling prospective clients to try and, book in and facilitate appointments. And, it could be then, especially if you are doing prospecting, a certain number of those per day. Your sales agent may also ask you to do that regardless if, you're going down that role of the sales assistant. They may ask you to do that as well, to call and facilitate and book in those appointments for them. A lot of it is to just keep them, as I mentioned at the start, doing what they do best, which is out meeting with the clients, seeing the properties, listing them, meeting with the buyers and selling them. So all of those functions in the background is what then they may have you doing in terms of booking in the building and pest inspections, booking in the valuations, having those diary notes of the terms of the contracts of sale. So when the finance would be due, when the building and pests would be due, what date the settlement would be due of the property, and keeping an eye on to making sure then those terms are being met, and those notifications by then the solicitors between the purchaser and the seller are being received and communicated through, so you can tick off that each step is being met as it's needed. or being able to then highlight and flag to your agent if something isn't quite right, or if you noted, say, the building and pest inspection was due to be what they call satisfied yesterday, but there was no communication received, to then prompt your sales agent to follow that up as well. So they do, and as mentioned, yeah, phone calls to facilitate any of that information, or to book in the sales agent appointments, appraisals, listing appointments, pre-settlement inspections is another one. A lot of clients, after the property goes unconditional, and either the morning of or the day before settlement is due, they'll undertake a pre-settlement inspection of the property. So just to make sure it is how it is when they viewed it the first time and put a contract on it, to make sure that, yeah, those air conditioners haven't been ripped out of the wall and you're left with a nice gaping hole in the wall, or if the property had a pool, the pool hasn't magically disappeared either. And those inclusions that I mentioned to be noted on a contract of sale are still there and still present when they go through. So yeah, you could be asked to book in. So yeah, you could be asked to book in that appointment as well. Plus, I'm just trying to, it's been a while since I was in sales. What else I had to do? Obviously, the diary management, keeping up the diary management for your agents as well, to make sure that he isn't, or she isn't overlapping on appointments, and that everything is structured for them, that they aren't going to be doubling up on appointments, missing out on a particular item as they're unable to attend, and most importantly, making sure they've got a chance to eat. Hungry agent can be a grumpy agent. And so yeah, diary management is another big thing that they will, in my experience, they've had be undertaken for them as well, in addition to setting and booking in those appointments. And you never know, they may even also then begin you on the process of follow-up appointments as well, if on behalf of the agent, or follow-up phone calls on behalf of the agent is something that they may look for you to do as well. The biggest thing though is probably that ensuring the forms are created and entered correctly and sent as required. So if your agent is selling a tenanted property, there are timeframes around certain forms that need to be issued, or when certain things can be conducted. So your sales agent may ask you to create an entry notice as they want to take someone through the property. Not a problem at all, but it can only be done with a minimum of 24 hours notice. Any type of condition on the contract of sale for the valuation, building and pest inspection, or pre-settlement inspection, all of those, can be done with an entry notice, but again, it's a minimum of 24 hours notice that needs to be provided to the tenants in occupancy. So that's something to obviously, keep in mind if your agent has that expectation that you book in those appointments as well, those timeframes that need to then be adhered to when dealing with a tenanted property. Generally, they are flat out themselves, and it is a few days before they are even requesting access. I know I had on the odd occasion, some would call up at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I want to come out and do the valuation. I want someone to be there at 11 o'clock. Sorry. And again, that comes down to having that calendar access and diary management as well, to see what is working best for then the agent, and holding firm and doing it on their schedule and their time frame. Also, there is, sorry guys, yeah, so the expectations for them pretty much, again, as an overview and from my own experience, would be based on those certain timeframes as well. Again, there's a lot more you could be doing, and depending on the agents and area, they may ask you to do as well, but that's just the basics of it. In relation to, my experiences, I said I started out in sales administration myself. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. It is one of the most, being a part of someone purchasing their own home is such a great process to be a part of. Knowing, you're not necessarily the one in the Facebook photo beside the sold sign, but knowing that you've helped them achieve that by ensuring those appointments were set, were attended to, and were finalised, and all of those terms of the contracts were adhered to, it is still such a gratifying feeling to be a part of. I mean, even when I bought my own property, which is still years after I had been working in the industry, it was, my first thought went to the admin team I bought the property from, because the end of the day, yes, the sales agent is the one at the front of the show, the one out there doing it. But for me, it was knowing that their administration team, none of those things would have happened if they weren't there doing it. So you should be super proud and super happy with every success you do achieve, or once you get that notification of that property is being sold, that you've contributed to someone being their own, being in their own home and being a part of that journey for them as well, as it is a great, great feeling. For me, I just took the move into property management because I like arguing with people. Let's be honest. You do cop a lot of flack. You know, we get accused of stealing people's rents just because it hasn't cleared in the system yet. Or what did I had a tenant when I went and attended a vacate inspection as part of the terms of a contract to sale having vacant possession on it. Unfortunately, it wasn't returned that clean, but apparently I went and took the dust out of my pockets and put it around the property, and I caused that. So, you know, you do cop a lot of flack for it, but it is just as rewarding as well, knowing that you've got a owner's, you know, they're worth their property, you know, say a $500,000 asset in your hands, maintaining it, ensuring that you know, the tenants are meeting their obligations as well. It is a wonderful feeling. Our sales team at the moment have actually been selling a lot of our rental properties, and some have been getting sold to owner occupiers. So, you know, those Form 12 notice to leave, all of that information is needing to be issued, or they've been selling it to other investors, and we're getting to then keep that management and build a relationship with another client, which is also awesome. But yeah, no, I did love my time in sales. Some days I think I should have just remained in a sales admin role. It's a lot less stressful, and I probably wouldn't be spending enough or as much money on hair dye as I actually am now, working in property management and the stress it brings. But it is a wonderful and gratifying feeling doing that, and it's something that you should all be super proud of, for the fact that you're going to be venturing into that role. If you specialize in something else within that, awesome, and congratulations. But yeah, it is definitely something to be proud of. And one day I might actually go back into it myself. But yeah, did anyone have any further questions or have any further thoughts or expectations on what they might see a sales agent wanting from them? No? Alrighty. I'm going to throw you guys a curveball. Who can tell me what a GTA is? Let's see if anyone was listening to my horrible voice for the last 50 minutes. Jovel?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
So yeah, the GTA, it is a agreement between the tenant and the landlord, where terms and conditions are in there. Also, the rent amount, also the rent bond are also indicated there.
Perfect, spot on. Even more info than what I went into.
Thank you.
You've done your research. All right, awesome. Well, if Rena, are you still there?
I think she left.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find, sorry. Oh, no, I don't know what I've done. Okay. Sorry, guys, just bear with me. Just while I track down Rena. Okay, yeah, spot on, Wee. It looks like she has kindly opted out of listening to me for an hour. So congrats to you guys for holding out for that long. I hope it wasn't too horrible. As I said, it was my first time as well, and I sort of got thrown into the deep end. But I do want to, if no one else has any questions, happy to thank you for your time. And you are able to, I think is it lunch you've got next? Yep, go off and enjoy your lunch breaks. And thank you very much. And enjoy the next session.
Thank you so much, Jo.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please
Have
be
a
right
great day,
back.
guys. All
right.
Bye.
Bye for now. Enjoy your lunch.
Bye. You too. Bye. Oh, there
Thank
you are,
you.
Rena. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I don't know if you've got anything, Rena, for them to. But yeah, I am all finished. So I was just going to say bye and send them to their send them on lunch. I think it is next for them.
All right. By the end of the week, I will send all the recording sessions we had on our
Definitely do this one.
Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you very much.